Hi everyone, it's Kristie Taylor. Let's create a mixed media piece on watercolor paper. Today we're going to use all kinds of different media, acrylic inks, spray paints, India ink, and oil paint sticks to create this piece which we call Dandelion Dusk. I've taped off my paper with purple tape by Thermoweb. That stuff is amazing. You can tape off the edges and end up with a nice clear edge even after tons of wet media. So we have a variety of acrylic paints here, and we're going to start by just spreading a couple colors onto the paper. This is quinacridone nickel azo gold, and this is quinacridone magenta. We're going to put them down on the paper, spray them with a little water, and then spread them out, and this will get us a good background color started. So we're just going to cover the entire background and blend the edges in together with our brush. Now I'm using my fingers and just kind of blending the colors together so we don't have harsh edges. And I'm going to dry it with the heat tool before I proceed. Next, we're going to sprinkle on some golden fluid acrylics. Back to the quinacridone magenta. Quinacridone nickel azo gold. And some quinacridone burnt orange. And that's quinacridone red. Deep turquoise. These stencils are from stencilgirlproducts.com, and as you can tell, I don't clean my stencils, I just keep using them. I like that you get little bits of color sometimes from what you've put on there before. This spray paint is by Montana, and it's a water-based spray paint, which I really love because you can use it indoors and you don't get any of that harsh smell or the headache that comes with it. This is another of my stencils. This is Diamond Dot. You can find that at stencilgirlproducts.com, and I will put a link in the description box below. So I spray the stencil with the spray paint and then turn it over and press the stencil onto the board, and then you get the positive and the negative of the same stencil design. And I'm drying it with a heat tool and then dabbing up some of the extra with a paper towel. Now I'm just blending in more of that nickel azo gold and the quinacridone burnt orange. Just blending it into the background, creating some shadows, and giving us a more in-depth color. This is the quinacridone red. I've put it onto my worksheet and then sprayed a little water to make it a little looser. And then I'm just using a brush to blend it into the background. Just in some random spots here and there. You want to spread the same color throughout the whole piece. And I'm just alternating back and forth between the red, the burnt orange, and the nickel lazo gold, dabbing up the extra and spreading it out so we don't have harsh edges. This is a Faber-Castell gelato. This is the gold color, and I'm just putting it onto the paper and then spreading it around with my fingers. This was yellow. Just alternating back and forth between the two. Now there you can see that I'm trying to create a horizon line, and we're going to work on that a little bit more later. But for now, I'm just putting the gelato down and then wetting it with the spray bottle and spreading it out with my fingers. This is a nice dark black. And the thing I like about the gelato is once you wet it and spread it around, it's still transparent. So you can see what's behind it. So you lose any of the background work that you did before. And I'm just spraying with water and spreading it out more. And going back in with an orange one and doing the same, some of the same places. The thing I like about doing this type of mixed media work on watercolor paper is you can just keep going until you like it. I wasn't quite happy with that spot, so I sprayed it again to reactivate the gelato and then wiped some of it away back to a color that I liked more. Now I'm just sprinkling on some India ink. I've dipped my brush into the ink and then I'm tapping it onto a bottle to get that nice splattered look. And spray it with a little water. And then I decided we also needed some Tattered Angels glaze. I'm not sure if they still make this, but I will provide a link in the description box below if I can find it. And doing the same thing that I did with the India ink. And then we're going to spray them both with water. And you can see how once you spray the India ink with water, it kind of spreads out and gives you some nice shadows. I'm just drying it again with the heat tool. Now we're going to create our horizon line. This is some metallic deco art craft paint. And I'm just painting on a horizon with my brush. I started out thinking that I wanted a little swirly cue there, but then I ended up changing that later. You'll see a little bit later in the video. So now I've taken some turquoise and burnt umber and added some glazing medium, and we're going to create a glaze which will make a shadow on the bottom part of our composition, like where the land portion of our horizon will be. Now we're going to create another glaze in a lighter color. So this is white and glazing medium. We're going to spread that over the sky portion. I've put the glaze down and then sprayed it with a little water and then wiped away the excess. You can see me take the little curly cue out there. Sometimes when you're creating, you get started with one idea and then it just kind of takes off and does its own thing after that. It tells you what it wants to be. So this is India ink. I've spread that over the horizon line, and then we're going to spray it with some water and help it drip. I love drips. Drips are fun. I'm just tapping it on the desk there to help it move a little more. And then we're going to dry that with the heat tool so that we can then make drips in the other direction. I decided I wanted the horizon line just a little bit darker, so I'm just adding another layer of the India ink, and then we'll spray it with water and watch it spread out and drip. This is another stencil from stencilgirlproducts.com. We're back to the Montana spray paints. I just felt like it needed a little more texture. So I sprayed through the stencil and then turned the stencil over and dabbed the extra onto the paper. This is when I decided that this wanted to be a landscape. Sort of an alien kind of landscape, but still a landscape. So I've used the India ink to make a flower. I spread it down to make the stem and then sprayed water to spread out to make the flower portion. Sort of a dandelion in shadow. I didn't want it to spread out too far because I still want it to look like a dandelion. So you can see me dry it with the heat tool and then dab out the extra and just keep going until it has the shape that I wanted. So let's just repeat the same process until we get as many flowers as we want. Put the India ink down, add a little water, dry it with the heat tool. Keep going. See, that one spread out a little too much, so just use my paper towel to dab it up. Just reestablishing the horizon. Adding the India ink, spraying it with water, and then spreading it out. It's another Stencil Girl product stencil. I just place it over each of the dandelions. Use my sponge and a little quinacridone magenta. And spread it over top. So here I'm using a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, and I'm just adding some shadow lines to each of the flowers. This one's copper or bronze, and I'm just going along each of the stems, and a little bit on the horizon. At this point, I decided I wanted the bottom portion of the picture to be a lot darker, so I added even more indigo ink and spray it with water and then tilt the paper to help it drip down. Shiva Artist Paint Stick. And I'm going to use several colors of these to add more depth and shadow, especially below the horizon line. So I just spread it on and then use my fingers to spread it out. These are an oil-based stick, and what I really like is it goes over everything else, but is still just a little bit transparent. So it gives you nice shadows. And I'm using the gold one in the middle of each of the dandelions. This brings a little sparkle to each of them. And these are permanent once dry, so if you want to remove some of them, like I did there, you need to do it while it's still wet. That's all there is to it. It's super easy to just sit back with a piece of watercolor paper, a bunch of different supplies, and just create something magical. I hope you enjoyed my little tutorial today. Please leave me a comment, let me know what you thought, and follow all my social media, which will be in the description box below. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.